Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michael. In today's world, it always feels like someone's trying to sell you some product or spin some story in some way that fits their agenda. Well, with all this competing information in the world, I thought it would be great just to find some place that has just the facts. And so tonight, I would like to talk to you about legislation and how a bill becomes law.
Legislation can be one of four different things. It can be a bill, a joint resolution, a concurrent resolution, or a simple resolution. Now, let's talk about bills. Bills are a proposal that senators or congressmen propose into being law. There are two different kinds of bills. The ones you hear about most often is the public bill. A public bill is a bill that affects members of the public. This would be something like the Affordable Care Act, the Patriot Act, or something like that. A private bill, on the other hand, is a piece of legislation that will only affect a single person, group, or organization. Usually, private bills deal with immigration or naturalization issues. Simple resolutions are a type of legislation designed by HRES or SRES. They are used to express a certain sense in the chamber that it was produced in. It is not signed by the president and is not considered a law. Concurrent resolutions are a piece of legislation that are mainly used to set annual budgets or to fix adjournment dates. Concurrent resolutions are not signed by the president and are not considered law. They have the designation of H-Conres or S-Conres. Joint resolutions are pretty much the same thing as a bill unless they propose an amendment to the Constitution. In this case, the joint resolution must be passed with a 2/3 majority in both the House and the Senate. In addition to this, the resolution must be ratified by 2/3 of the states to be adopted. A bill can be introduced at any point in time that Congress is in session. Now, the bill has to be introduced in a certain way. The bill will be put into a box called a hopper, which is on the rostrum, a platform where the speaker is at. In the Senate floor, however, a bill can be introduced in a couple of ways. First, a bill can be placed in the presiding officer's desk, much like the way that it is introduced in Congress. The second way is to simply introduce it to the Senate floor. The Library of Congress has a great website where you can track the progress of a bill. I will link the website in the description below. Once the bill has been introduced, the bill is read on the floor and is then referred to the committee it is related to for markup. For example, a bill dealing with the amount of pesticides that a farm can use in the season will be taken to the Agricultural Committee. At this point, the Library of Congress is given an electronic copy of the bill. Once the committee marks up and debates on the bill, they may make changes to it. If the committee thinks that there are too many amendments in it, they may introduce a sleeker version or a clean bill. From here, the committee has a few different options. The committee can vote on the bill after it has been amended and debated. It can table the bill, effectively putting it on hold. Or it can stop action on the bill if the committee feels that the bill is unnecessary or a bad idea. After the committee has debated on it, many of the changes that they deem necessary to the bill is released, along with a report explaining all of the provisions of the bill. At this time, the bill is considered reported. The bill is then put on a calendar. Calendars are basically an agenda for what the House and Senate plan on doing. It is published and sent to every office of Congress member every day. Once a bill is considered to be reported, it is given to the Speaker, who assigns it to a calendar. There are 3 calendars most used by the House and the Senate: the Union Calendar, the House Calendar, and the Corrections Calendar. The Union Calendar is a list of bills that are planned to be considered by the House of Representatives. These bills are usually dealing with money, bills that can be categorized as appropriations, or bills that deal with raising money. The House Calendar is where all public bills that do not deal with money are scheduled. Finally, the Corrections Calendar is a list of bills selected by the leaders of the majority and minority that will be considered and debated for an hour. Bills in the Correction Calendar typically deal with changing laws, rules, and regulations. A 3/5 of majority of present members is required for the bill to pass. Once it is time to start talking about the bill, floor action and debating starts. Once the bill has been debated on, it is then read again on a section-by-section basis this time. During this time, amendments may be offered to the bill. The bill is then read and debated on for a 3rd time. After this, the House is ready to vote on the bill. The Library of Congress is given a copy of the debates after it has been prepared by the Clerk of the House. From here, when the bill is ready to be voted on, only the title of the bill is read. Members on the House that are present vote on whether or not to pass the bill. Members of the House usually vote electronically using the electronic voting system, while members of the Senate vote using non-electronic means. For instance, when asked to vote, members will say either yay, nay, or present. Present means they are there, but they are not voting on the bill. Once the bill has been voted on and passed the House, it is then sent to the Senate. When the bill gets to the Senate, it is certified by the clerk and considered to be engrossed. While it is in the Senate, the bill may be sent to a committee for markup. This process is just like the process that it goes through in the House. The Senate has three options. They can vote to pass the bill, vote to not pass the bill, or ignore it and work on their own legislation. If the bill has different language than when it was sent to the Senate, it will then be sent to a conference committee, where language is agreed upon by members of both houses. When both houses have agreed on the language, it is then considered to be enrolled and sent off to the president. Once the bill is sitting on the president's desk, he has 4 different actions that he can do. The first is if he does not take any action while Congress is in session. When this happens, the bill becomes law after 10 days. The second thing the president can do is called a pocket veto, which is when the president doesn't do anything with the bill while Congress is not in session. Then the bill dies. The president can decide that the bill is not necessary or unwise, then he can veto the bill. Last but certainly not least, the president can just sign the bill into law. If the president doesn't like something in the bill, he will veto it, and it will be sent back to the House it came from. Once in the House, the objections to the veto are read and debated on the House floor. After debating, a vote is taken to override the veto. For the House or Senate to override the president, they need a 2/3 majority to override the veto. If they have enough votes to override the veto, then the bill becomes law. However, if they do not have enough votes, then the bill dies and it does not become law.
Well, that explains it. Well, I hope you had a lot of fun tonight, learning about how legislation becomes law in the United States, and why it's important to keep in touch with your local elections and keep tabs on your representatives so they can better represent your interests in Washington. Remember, if you have any questions or comments, please leave a comment below, and please like and subscribe. Have a good night.